Remember when Boston Dynamics robots were just viral YouTube videos? Those incredible clips of Atlas doing backflips, Spot opening doors, and robots parkour jumping over obstacles seemed like science fiction. Amazing to watch, but impossibly far from practical use. For years, critics dismissed Boston Dynamics as little more than an expensive robotics showcase, burning through money to create impressive demos with no real-world applications. But something fundamental has shifted in 2026. Those same robots that seemed like futuristic toys are now working real jobs, being deployed across industries and actually generating revenue. Boston Dynamics has transformed from a research curiosity into a serious commercial robotics company. So what changed? Why are these robots finally going mainstream after decades of development? The technology finally caught up. For years, Boston Dynamics had a critical problem. Their robots were incredible at movement, but terrible at thinking. Atlas could do a backflip, but it couldn't figure out what to do next without human programming for every single action. Spot could walk upstairs, but it needed constant human supervision to perform useful tasks. The breakthrough came with the integration of advanced AI into their robot platforms. Boston Dynamics partnered with major AI companies and integrated large language models and computer vision systems directly into their robots. This means robots can now understand natural language commands, perceive their environment in real time, and make decisions autonomously. In 2025, Boston Dynamics demonstrated a version of Atlas that could be told, "Organize this warehouse in plain English and then figure out how to do it," picking up boxes, stacking them efficiently, navigating around obstacles, all without step-by-step programming. This was the moment everything changed. Robots went from requiring robotics PhDs to operate them to being controllable by anyone who can talk. The AI integration also solved the last-mile problem that plagued earlier robots. Previous generations could perform impressive feats in controlled environments, but failed when faced with the unpredictability of real-world scenarios. A robot might handle a pristine warehouse perfectly, but completely fail when a box was dented, a pallet was placed slightly wrong, or lighting conditions changed. Modern AI allows robots to adapt, improvise, and handle the messy reality of actual work environments. The economics started making sense. Here's the brutal truth that held back robotics for decades. Robots were insanely expensive and couldn't do enough useful work to justify their cost. A single Atlas robot cost over $1 million, required constant maintenance, and could only perform highly specific pre-programmed tasks. It was cheaper to hire humans for almost everything, but the economic equation has fundamentally shifted. First, the costs have plummeted. While exact pricing remains confidential, industry insiders suggest that Boston Dynamics commercial robots are now priced at a fraction of their previous cost. Estimates range from $150,000 to $300,000 depending on the model and configuration. That's still expensive, but it's within the range where businesses can actually justify the investment. Second, the labor shortage accelerated adoption. After the pandemic, industries from warehousing to manufacturing to logistics have struggled to find workers willing to do physically demanding, repetitive, or dangerous jobs. When you can't find workers at any reasonable wage, suddenly a robot that costs $200,000 and works 24/7 without breaks, benefits, or complaints becomes extremely attractive. The math is straightforward. A Spot robot working in a warehouse inspection role can replace multiple human inspectors working in shifts. If you calculate the total cost of human labor, wages, benefits, training, turnover, injuries, insurance, over a 5-year period, the robot often comes out cheaper. And unlike humans, robots don't quit, don't need vacation, and don't get injured climbing dangerous structures. Third, the capabilities expanded to the point where robots can now handle a wide enough range of tasks to justify their cost. A robot that can only do one thing isn't worth it. But a robot that can perform warehouse inspection in the morning, security patrol in the afternoon, and data collection at night suddenly becomes a versatile tool that pays for itself. Real industries are actually using them. The difference between 2023 and 2026 isn't hype, it's deployment. Boston Dynamics robots are now working real jobs in real industries, not just appearing in flashy demo videos. In manufacturing, Spot robots patrol factory floors conducting safety inspections, monitoring for equipment malfunctions, and collecting data that would previously require humans to walk miles every day in potentially dangerous environments. Companies like Hyundai, which acquired Boston Dynamics in 2021, have deployed them across their facilities, reporting significant reductions in workplace accidents and equipment downtime. In construction, Spot robots perform site surveys, progress monitoring, and safety inspections. They can walk through partially completed buildings, navigate debris and obstacles, climb stairs that might not have railings yet, and document everything with cameras and sensors. Construction companies report that robots can complete site surveys in a fraction of the time humans need, with more consistent and detailed data collection. Energy companies use Spot for infrastructure inspection, walking through power plants, climbing on oil rigs, inspecting solar farms, and monitoring wind turbines. These robots can work in extreme temperatures, radioactive environments, and other conditions where sending humans is expensive or dangerous. One energy company reported that a single Spot robot eliminated the need for hundreds of dangerous high-altitude inspections that previously required specialized climbing teams. Warehouses and logistics centers are increasingly deploying both Spot for inspection and monitoring, and Stretch, Boston Dynamics warehouse robot with a gripper arm, for loading and unloading trucks. Amazon, while developing their own robotics, has also tested Boston Dynamics robots. The ability to work 24/7 without fatigue, maintain consistent speeds, and avoid workplace injuries makes these robots economically attractive in the thin-margin logistics industry. Even more surprisingly, entertainment and hospitality industries are experimenting with these robots. Theme parks use them for crowd monitoring and security. Hotels deploy them for contactless delivery and guest services. These aren't yet mainstream applications, but they show the versatility of the platform. The technology became more accessible. Boston Dynamics made a critical strategic shift. Instead of selling robots as finished products that only do specific tasks, they positioned them as platforms that developers can build applications for. This is similar to how smartphones became truly useful when Apple and Google created app stores and let thousands of developers create applications. The Spot robot now has a comprehensive SDK software development kit that allows third-party developers to create custom applications. Want your Spot to perform a specific inspection routine unique to your facility? You can program it yourself or hire a developer to do it. Want it to integrate with your existing enterprise software? The APIs are available. This open platform approach dramatically lowered the barrier to adoption. Previously, if you wanted a robot to do something specific, you needed Boston Dynamics engineers to custom program it at enormous expense. Now, a growing ecosystem of robotics integrators and software developers can customize these robots for specific industries and use cases. Universities and research institutions also gained affordable access to these platforms for education and research, creating a pipeline of engineers and developers who know how to work with Boston Dynamics robots. This is crucial for mainstream adoption. You need a workforce that understands the technology. The public perception shifted. Remember when Boston Dynamics videos went viral and the top comments were always, "Cool, but what's it actually for?" That skepticism has largely evaporated. The public has watched these robots progress from research curiosities to working tools. When people see Spot patrolling a construction site or inspecting a factory, it no longer seems like science fiction. It seems like practical technology. The pandemic also shifted public perception of automation and robotics. When lockdowns demonstrated the fragility of human labor supply chains, robots suddenly seemed less like job stealers and more like resilience builders. The narrative changed from robots taking our jobs to robots doing jobs humans don't want or can't safely do. Boston Dynamics also smartly avoided the uncanny valley problem that plagued humanoid robots. Spot looks like a mechanical dog. It's clearly a robot, not trying to fool anyone into thinking it's alive. This makes people more comfortable around it. Even Atlas, despite being humanoid, has a distinctly mechanical aesthetic that doesn't trigger the creepy factor of robots that try too hard to look human. The regulatory environment evolved. For years, robots existed in regulatory gray zones. Who's liable if a robot injures someone? What safety standards must they meet? Can they operate in public spaces? These unanswered questions made companies hesitant to deploy robots. By 2026, many of these questions have been resolved. OSHA and equivalent agencies worldwide have established guidelines for workplace robots. Insurance products exist specifically for robotic operations. Legal frameworks have emerged defining liability and safety requirements. Boston Dynamics worked closely with regulators and industry groups to establish these standards, positioning themselves as the responsible leader in commercial robotics. Their robots now come with comprehensive safety features, fail-safes, and compliance documentation that make corporate legal departments comfortable with deployment. The network effect is kicking in. Here's what makes the mainstream moment unstoppable. The more companies deploy these robots, the more data Boston Dynamics collects to improve them. The more developers build applications for the platform, the more valuable it becomes. The more workers become familiar with operating alongside robots, the less resistance there is to adoption. We're seeing the classic technology adoption curve accelerate. Early adopters prove the concept. Early majority companies are now deploying at scale. Late majority companies are watching and planning their own implementations. Even laggards are starting to worry about being left behind competitively. The supply chain is also maturing. Battery technology improved, making robots run longer between charges. Component costs decreased through economies of scale. Maintenance networks expanded, so companies don't need to wait weeks for repairs. All of this makes large-scale deployment practical. What this means for the future. Boston Dynamics. Going mainstream isn't just about one company's success. It's a signal that we've crossed a threshold in robotics. The combination of advanced mobility, AI integration, economic viability, and practical applications has created the conditions for widespread robot deployment. In 5 years, seeing a spot robot in a factory or warehouse will be as unremarkable as seeing a forklift. In 10 years, humanoid robots like Atlas might be performing routine tasks in environments designed for humans. The question is no longer, can robots do useful work? But rather, which tasks will robots handle first, and how quickly will adoption accelerate? The mainstream moment for Boston Dynamics robots isn't coming, it's already here. The robots are working. The economics make sense. The technology works reliably. The infrastructure exists to support deployment at scale. Thanks for watching.